It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is March 3rd, 2025. This is the B Block. And John, what's the B Block all about?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It is. And what do we start with?
It's number 3.
This is an interesting story, and I've seen this a couple times over the last 24 hours. A lady has been sued by a professor at Idaho State University. You know this crazy story?
No. Did she insist on being called Idaho?
No. Ashley Gilliard, I guess you just pronounce it as Guilllard. She is an internet influencer. And going back to the horrendous murders where the three young women and the young guy were stabbed to death by, we can say, by the dude, because what was his name? Brian, what's his name? Brian, what's his name?
Nieves?
No.
Was it Brian Nieves?
No, it wasn't Brian
Oh,
Nieves.
okay. I just want to make sure.
Okay. You know the story. The three women, the guy was stabbed in the middle of the night.
The creepy guy kept driving by and then stabbed him, yeah.
Right, okay. Ashley Gilliard posted on a bunch of her websites that she knew who the murderer was, and the murderer was Professor Rebecca Schofield. And she said that Rebecca Schofield was having a romantic relationship with one of the four. No, she never said which one. It could be the dude or it could be one of the three women, that Professor Rebecca Schofield essentially was having an affair, and she hired an assassin to go kill these four people because they were going to leak the fact that she was having an affair with all four of these, or one of the four of these people. And guess what?
What happened?
On Friday, in U.S. District Court, in the case of Schofield versus Gilliard, jurors awarded her $7.5 million. This professor gets $7.5 million in punitive damage and $2.5 million in compensatory damages. According to the court records, Professor Rebecca Schofield, who chairs the university's history department, filed suit in December 2022 against Houston resident Ashley Gilliard. The lawsuit stemmed from a series of TikTok videos in which Gilliard alleged, without evidence, that Schofield had a romantic relationship with one of the victims and arranged the killings. So, I guess if I were Candace, what's her name again? Candace? I always get
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. If I were Candace Owens, I would take note of that case, because Candace Owens, have you read some of the weird stuff she puts out now, John?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a lot of theories, right?
Well, God, I mean, she used to be. I was very impressed with her and saw her on a lot of different shows, and then she goes off in these crazy weird tangents where it's just bizarre weird stuff. It's like she needs to be on the Art Bell show like 20 years ago with all the crazy stuff she says. So anyway,
I remember hearing about that. And as a brief aside here, Brad, that I think is relevant to Candace Owens, because we don't spend a lot of time talking about her. I think it's a good example of, pardon me again. I think it's a good example of, if we elevate a voice on the right wing just because that person has dark skin, and then we're surprised if they let us down, we wouldn't have been impressed with Candace Owens if she was a white woman. Like, we wouldn't have taken notes. She would have been just another white woman saying right-wing stuff.
John,
but because she's black, we elevate her, and suddenly we're surprised if she lets us down. We're more surprised than we would be if she was a generic white woman, and I don't understand that.
I disagree with you on that. I don't. If it were some white, if it were like Tracy Ellis, who was like saying all sorts of things that were really on target and doing lots of good things, then all of a sudden she started doing crazy stuff and bought a radio station. Hold it, that happened, didn't it? Anyway.
Oh, Brad. There's a great story up on my website today. I think you're done with the Idaho part. I think that was your lead in to Candace, but. There's a great story up today. State Senator Tracy McCreary is sponsoring a bill that would focus on cyber harassment and stalking. And your original direction of story number 3 reminded me of that. And it's a great piece from KSDK, and people can find it today on johncombest.com.
Well, there's so many crackpots on the internet. Now, once again, here's the problem with this, is that we have this great freedom in the United States called freedom of speech. In Iran, if you said something bad about the Ayatollah, guess what? You ceased to exist anymore. You disappeared, or you were found dead somewhere or something like that. To a large degree, that doesn't happen in the St. Louis area unless you're a roofer who didn't pay somebody, but that's a whole other story. But the situation on this is that I think this sets a precedent that a lot of the influencers are going to go, oh, maybe I better watch what I say. You know what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, maybe as it relates to Epstein. Now, I will point out that last week you said you were a free speech absolutist.
No, I'm not. I don't think I said.
You literally used the phrase, Brad. Do not make me find the transcript. You literally said, see, I'm a free speech absolutist.
I don't think the word absolutist is in my vocabulary. I can't remember when the last time I used that.
And I don't care enough to prove you wrong, but I think listeners understand my credibility and yours. Brad, I was wondering, what's story number 2 in Brad's top 3?
Moving right along.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
It's a story that impacts, well, at least it used to impact John Combest, because if John Combest still worked for Monsanto, he would be flying out press releases on this story. They would be like, there would be a press release every 3.6 seconds coming out from the John Combest office at Monsanto. But he's not
and
there
I
anymore.
would be recruiting you to go across the river to East St. Louis with me.
You know where I'm headed with this.
Yeah, you read St. Louis Public Radio every morning, Brad.
Yes.
What did it say?
The lawsuit that the city of East St. Louis supposedly, didn't they win like $2.7 billion from Monsanto? Wasn't that the deal? Like, it was a bunch of money. It was like 10 figures. Wasn't that the deal? Wasn't it like that?
Yeah, and the number escapes me. I did spend years working on the PCB issue, but I don't remember. The cases frankly run together between East St. Louis, Anniston, Alabama, and other metro regions. They run together. Brad, what was the story? What happened?
The story was that the PCBs that were in Sauget, and if you know the geography over there, Sauget is just to the south of East St. Louis. The Sauget plant is right there as you go across Route 3, and is one of my favorite DJs on the point used to always say when he was doing ads for Pops, he would say, hey, he'd give his pitch about what bands are going to be playing there, and he'd say, and when you go across the Poplar Street Bridge, head south on Route 3, and when you can taste the air, you're there. And the interesting part of that was I used to make that trip, I don't know how many times a day. When I used to do traffic, we used to fly out of the airport over there in Sauget, and literally you could taste the air. It wasn't, I mean, smell, no problem. If you were the person that you were cutting up onions in your kitchen, you couldn't smell that. But yet you went over to Sauget, you could smell, I mean, to the point where you could smell it out of your ears. And Monsanto has, as a matter of fact, the first traffic light there. I don't know if you know that. You know what the
yeah.
The name?
What's the street name, Brad?
It's called Monsanto Avenue.
I learned that from you many times on the show.
Monsanto Avenue, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, I know exactly where this dump was that they were dumping all this stuff, because that's part of the story, that they had a dump where they were dumping all this toxic soil and stuff like that. And it was on my way to the airport. And when this would have been in the early 80s, when I remember going there, and especially in the spring and the fall when I had my windows down in my car, they had a bulldozer that was working in there, to pick up this tainted soil, and I don't know where they're taking it. Maybe they're taking it out to the airport and dumping it next to Coldwater Creek. Could be. But, I mean, to the point where it made your eyes water. It was so toxic smelling. It was just like, and the crazy thing about that is that the East St. Louis people sued Monsanto. They got this judgment, and you know why the judge threw it out?
Did he blame it on Russell Bliss?
Statute of limitations.
Oh, statute of limitations.
Yes, they threw it out. So that's the story there. Okay, now, are you ready for number 1?
Yeah, I want to hear it, Brad.
Number 1.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
Have you heard what the Cardinals are going to be doing to try to get fans back to Busch Stadium? Have you heard this?
I heard there's a magic number like 29 involved.
You know the story, right?
I think it's been the hottest story in St. Louis in the last 48 hours.
I find it absolutely positively fascinating.
And
John,
what is it, Brad? Explain it for folks who haven't heard.
Well, they're offering a ticket to hold on a minute. Let me clear my voice here. They're offering a ticket to Big Mac Land, and essentially what it's turned into, it's a ticket where you can get all you can eat at the concession stand. I'm thinking to myself, man, it's pretty bad when the place that sells you, $22 hot dogs, and isn't that the deal? $22 hot dogs and $42 beers for a $29 ticket. You can go and stuff your face. I mean, It's called the bottomless concession tickets, starting at $29. Can you believe this, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they modeled it out and how they would make money, and or they realized that it's a loss leader, and when you show up, you're gonna get little Timmy or little Tyrone a Cardinal hat or a jersey while you're there or something. I'm sure they modeled it out pretty well. But in theory, couldn't you? I mean, it does not include alcohol, correct?
Yeah. You want me to read what's on the menu?
Yeah,
here?
yeah. What's included?
When fans arrive, they will head to the check-in station near Section 265. Fans will choose 3 of the following items. Hold it. If it's why can you only get 3? Hold on a minute. An ad came up. Hold on a minute. It's talking about the Mayo Clinic, which I've been there before, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, okay. What a great story that is, Brad.
Fountain Coca-Cola products, hot dogs, chicken tenders, bratwurst, nacho chips and cheese, French fries, popcorn, peanuts, kettle chips, ice cream cups. Once they make their selections, fans will be able to pick up their items from the unlimited concession stand outside of Section 265. Just show your wristband, grab your items, and go. The deal runs from the time gates open until the 8th inning. The 8th inning. For more information to buy tickets, click here. That's what the story says. Okay, John, the Cardinals are trying to get people back into the stadium, but can I give a suggestion as to how they could do that?
Yeah, please do.
First up, what they need to do is you can get these relatively inexpensive. Matter of fact, you can get them right across the river. The shipping containers, the military guys know them as Connex or Connex boxes, which are the boxes that go on the tops of tractor trailers and they come over on those cargo ships from China and stuff like that. They're right across the river. You can buy them. Why do I know? I've been there. I've looked at them before. Okay? I was going to buy one once upon a time.
All right, let's go. Let's get to it.
Okay. They should line those up on, I think it's the street between the stadium and Ballpark Village. Is that Lucas? I'm trying to remember
No, it's not Lucas. I don't know what it is, but we get your point.
It's the street they block off. Okay, so here's what they need to do. For a premium ticket, they need to line that street with those storage containers. And they would call them the Cardinals Car Vault. The CCV, the Cardinals Car Vault. And for a $199 ticket, you could get your car, you would drive it into the car vault, and then you would lock it, and they would give you your own lock and your own key. Then you would have an armed guard escort you not only from your Cardinals Car Vault into the stadium, but actually go up to your seat, and then there would be armed officers with MP5 submachine guns who would guard that section, and that would be the premium seat. Then people would come back to the Cardinals. Don't you think, John?
I think so. I like that idea. I mean, that's the issue. Do you want to park and walk through the weed smoke and hey, you got some change? Do you want to walk through that with your kids to a baseball game? Or do you say, let's watch it on television? I like the idea, though, Brad. That would be fantastic.
The Cardinals Car Vault. You like that idea? See,
I love the idea, Brad. That's the type of thing that would bring you back into Cardinals fandom. Now, what I think is, I like the idea that they're keeping it to one popular area, which is Big Mac Land. And Brad, I know you haven't been of breeding age for decades, but there's also an area not far from Big Mac Land that's like a Cardinals like playground type place, like a kids club. So it would be convenient to get your fat little kid hopped up on soda and nachos and other disgusting fatty food and then send them to go play. And it would be like a whole day. And again, I'm sure Cardinals have modeled it out, and that's why you could only get it in one segment. I would imagine these tickets will go incredibly quickly.
You think so?
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you've seen the average fat Hoosier walking into a Cardinal game, you realize that it is definitely going to be a loss leader. I mean, if you've been to a water park in the last decade and you've seen boys with moobs, you wonder, where are the kids? Or like, where are the parents? And then you look at the parents and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that Diet Coke is going to help. Why don't you just get a regular Coke, sweetie?
Do you know, I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but after giving him a lot of grief that, man, I don't know if I should tell this story or not. The David Hoffmann has become my friend. And
Oh yeah. And so he's more of an imaginary friend.
No,
We've all
no.
had friends that we don't know or ever met or talk to. But why do you, in this fantasy world, like David Hoffmann now?
No, he called me last night and we talked about this because
I bet you did. Yeah.
because he's called me up last night and he says, Brad, have you seen this thing what the crazy Cardinals are doing with the unlimited food in Section 265? And I said, yes, David. He says, I am almost much more closer to owning the Cardinals. And I said, really? I said,
Because they're going to lose money on it.
well, he just says, I can tell you why it's not going to work. And I said, go ahead, Mr. Hoffman. I call him Mr. Hoffman as respect. And he said, Red Lobster. And I said,
Yeah, boy, isn't that the truth?
and I said, Red Lobster. He says, remember what happened to Red Lobster when they did the unlimited, was it unlimited crabs or stuff like that? What was it? Was it what they
Yeah, crab leg. Maybe it was crab legs. It was something like that. Yeah.
Unlimited crab legs, and they lost like $20 million a month or something like that because they had every person that had a gut that was, that had to use one of those extenders on the aircraft. If you're flying, they had every person showed up and just like, okay, they came up with funnels and they just said, okay, waitress, I'm going to put my funnel up here. Just drop in the crab legs into my funnel. And I go, Mr. Hoffman, I think you're right. He says, that's going to drive them out of business. He says, because where they're able to, afford all those high salaries is because those $32 beers and their $82 hot dogs. And I go, but Mr. Hoffman, how are they going to make money with $29 where you can unlimited? He says, once again, Brad, might even be by sometime in July. The announcement will come out. The Cardinals have lost all their money. They're broke. They don't have a place to broadcast anymore. Matter of fact, their new streaming service is called TCAS. You know what that stands for?
No, I don't.
2 tin cans and a string. That's their new broadcasting system, and they're broke, and I'm going to swoop in and buy them up, and then we're going to move the Post-Dispatch headquarters out into left field. And all the reporters going to work out there in left field. And you know what? We're going to have the Post-Dispatch night, and we'll have the Post-Dispatch day, and we won't have any unlimited food. And I'm going to triple the prices there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all the wineries from Augusta into right field, and then we'll have just the ideal situation. We think,
yeah,
John?
and I think the final step of that is changing Busch Stadium into a 12-hole golf course.
Right, with the amphitheater that doesn't exist. Okay, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Okay.